Happy Thursday to you all. Welcome to Futbol Americas. He is Shaka Hislop. He is Herculez Gomez or Zinedine Zidane today. You're dripping today.
No, he's hook.
He's like, let's not put him up there.
Not even in the pinky.
Come on.
It's as close as I'm gonna get. I'll take it.
It's a beautiful jersey, though.
Thank you.
We do have to admit that.
What World Cup were you?
I don't know.
What World Cup?
I played it?
Yeah. How don't you know?
2006.
Oh, 2000. Now I was way after you then. Yeah.
Which one?
This World Cup. This is '98, I think. No?
Was that 98?
I believe so.
Yeah, it
Did you play against
kind of looks like 98.
No?
Didn't play against.
You say you think this is 98 or this is the 98
Not
one?
sure. My mind is scrambled
I don't
right
think
now.
it is
But that World Cup was the headbutt.
That's right.
2006. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it was. Anyway, after that Zinedine Zidane history lesson, we go back to review what happened a little bit this summer. That's coming up because apparently Christian Pulisic's agent was the one who notified U.S. men's national team about his no participation in the Gold Cup. And a little bit later, we have our nominees for the Concacaf Player of the Year. And maybe two of us will agree on the same player, and maybe somebody will have a different opinion. A little bit of mystery there, as always, very intriguing. This was intriguing, too, because Inter Miami and Seattle faced each other not even a month after what we saw in that Leagues Cup final. And you know what I mean by that. But how about this? 12th minute, Jordi Alba scoring in a beautiful play there by Lionel Messi, Shaq.
Yeah, it really is. Ball one in midfield, and then, I mean, look at this for a pass, and from there, Jordi Alba, who continues to show great legs, great engine, finds a good finish.
Yeah, and how about this pass from Sergio Busquets finding Messi here? Herc almost gets it in.
Yeah,
I mean, look at the way the movement's excellent, the way he brings it down, and then he's going to swallow him through two players, and then outside the left foot, off the post, he just does what he wants.
I mean, it's child's play in the best way possible. 41st minute, Inter Miami winning the ball again. Alba finding Messi, Shaq.
I'm always so impressed with how advanced Alba continues to find himself. Again, ball coughed up. Look who's far ahead of the ball in Jordi Alba, and this is a great ball. And a good finish from Lionel Messi.
Yeah, good battles there in the midfield to win this one, and a great header, Herc.
Yeah, Frey with a good header. It's a set piece. No Seattle Sounder anywhere near. Wants to challenge that. It's Inter Miami 3-0, but there will be a little bit of life.
Yep, and here's the life, the pulse. Obed Vargas to get one back for Seattle, Shaq.
Yeah, nice finish after a good build-up play. You just wondered with, what was it, 20 minutes on the clock, could Seattle do anything? They didn't.
No, they really didn't. And as we mentioned the other night, and we made a point to say, at least Herc, you and Janusz, the fact that they still have a few games on hand. They're at 27 now, trying to reach those 30 as well, but a lot of things to still figure out. One of the things to still figure out, and that's why we are bringing in our Lizzie Becherano to talk about Mascherano's team. Lizzie, with Lionel Messi and nearing that multi-year extension, we know you worked on this with Moises Llorens, all those details on ESPN+, but give us the nitty-gritty of what we can expect in the next few days with Messi potentially extending his contract with Miami.
The club captain is here to stay. I think for the past couple months, there's been a lot of doubt whether he was going to sign. There was interest from leagues abroad, particularly Saudi Arabia. Now, Inter Miami co-owner Jorge Mas always said, our dream is to have him retire here. We will do all that is possible, all that is necessarily. It's just up to Lionel Messi. And now it looks like the team and the player are in the final stages, just a couple details left. Obviously, this is a complex contract. It's not just any player in MLS, it's Lionel Messi. So there's a few details left to work out, but it's more of a matter of when and definitely not if. Now, obviously, when it came to Lionel Messi, given the age, given his stage in his career, there was talk that it could be more so just a one-year extension. But now we know it's various years. We're looking between 2 and 4. Obviously, that'll be announced quite soon. But Inter Miami fans should be very excited for the news to come in very couple of days.
Yeah, a sigh of relief there, although we know Messi's past with extending contracts and saying that he's going to stay. But no, here it's definitely different. But we know the plans moving forward for Inter Miami and for Lionel Messi, especially with the unveiling of the new stadium in 2027, expectedly so. Lizzie mentioning Shaq between 2 and 4 years. I mean, if it's a 4-year deal, this would be massive for Inter Miami.
It really would. And kind of given Lionel Messi's age, you just question 4 years. But then there's nothing about Lionel Messi's performance that suggests that 4 years is out of the question. It's just kind of Father Time has his say in this regard. But I feel as though we had this conversation in so many similar ways about Cristiano Ronaldo and Saudi Arabia. Given their importance to their respective leagues, I never saw Cristiano come into Major League Soccer. I never saw Lionel Messi going anywhere else other than Major League, other than staying here in Major League Soccer. Because of that importance, and this is not an Inter Miami thing. It's not only Inter Miami as a club, their fan base that will be celebrating. It's for me, everybody who has anything to do with Major League Soccer wants to see this deal get over the line, and understandably so. And as Lizzie points out, we are talking about Lionel Messi. We are talking about an extension, and that is a complex agreement to put together and to get right. So you understand why it's taking as long as it is, but there is no doubt in my mind that despite all that may go wrong, they'll figure this out. He'll sign.
Yeah, absolutely. We know that, as Lizzie mentioned, as Shaq just mentioned, it's a complex deal because
I don't think it is.
All of MLS.
No.
It's not?
No, I think
Why
it's
not?
very simple. Where this club, this franchise was in 2022, it was a team with the pink jerseys. And that's all you knew about them, if you knew Inter Miami. That's what you knew. Oh, that's the team that David Beckham has, right? Yeah. Oh, they play out in where? Fort Lauderdale? I didn't know that. Oh, I thought they were in Miami. No, okay. Lionel Messi put Inter Miami on the map. Whatever they were worth back then in 2022, times that by 12x now. So whatever they were paying Lionel Messi, the reported $20 million a year, plus merchandising, plus an owner stake, future stake in the club, I expect that to go up. Whatever you pay for a designated player in Major League Soccer, you do with the intention of them moving the needle. Moving the needle within your club, whether that's in jersey sales, with merchandising, but also on the field. And he's not only done that for Inter Miami in a way that no other player has ever done that, probably in any team around the world, but he's doing it on the field. He's 38 years of age, and he's going on 2 seasons where he's going to break 20 goals again. Last year, we were having a debate if he should be the league MVP, even though he scored more goals and assists than anybody else, more productive than anybody else, but he only did it in 19 games. And we were questioning if you should give him the MVP for that. Right. This year, he's going to break that again. I don't care how old he is. He's the face of Major League Soccer. He is Inter Miami, and they should be smart enough to realize whatever they're giving him is not enough. And whether it's 2 years and 4 years, I doubt it'll be 4. I don't think he wants to play until he's 42 years of age, but you got to get him on the books. You got to keep him here. You got to make sure he retires with Inter Miami. He opens up that park, and he has a good outing representing Inter Miami at the next World Cup.
To that point, well, it's a simple decision, but it's a complex deal for all the reasons that you mentioned. Now, at this point, whatever Lionel Messi asks for, he's entitled to get. But the thing is, we aren't, and I use myself as an example, we aren't talking about a basic weekly salary, and if I'm lucky, I get, a clean sheet or more to Lionel Messi's position, a goal bonus.
Right.
It's so much more than that.
Yeah.
As Herc mentioned, you're opening a new stadium, you've got jersey sales, you've got merchandising, you've got broadcast rights that he is so pivotal in establishing. And then the longer term to it, and guaranteeing that there's a return in the longer term on whatever his involvement is, ownership or whatever he decides within to Miami. This is one where the lawyers are as happy as Lionel Messi is in putting this one together.
It also behooves Messi to put ink to paper. If this is your team and you have ownership stake in this team, it's obviously worth much more with you involved. As soon as Messi leaves, those shares are going to drop.
Of course.
Unless they maintain with another superstar, it's just natural. So Messi's got to make sure that investment keeps growing.
He wants to guarantee that, even after he's left.
Right, right. Lizzie, to bring you back into this conversation, I mean, obviously you've seen the impact on the business side especially, which is the biggest thing here for Lionel Messi. We've seen him in a lot of commercials since he signed with Inter Miami. Here in the U.S., we know all those deals mean to him. But with the complexity of this situation and what we've seen with Messi since he signed with Inter Miami, how massive is this club now compared to, as Herc said, when everybody knew it as the team with the pink jerseys?
Yeah, and I want to start off first with the complexities of this deal. As you guys mentioned, it's a simple decision, but a very complex and complicated legal situation. Obviously, with having so many parties involved, you have Apple, you have MLS, you have Adidas, you have Inter Miami. So it's not so much a lack of disposition to get into paper to sign that deal. It's much more about how do we make this legal jargon work so that Messi could sign quicker, get it done faster. And again, when we sat down with Jorge Mas, he said, we are willing to do anything. We're willing to offer him absolutely everything because we want him here. So I'm sure whatever Messi wanted, Messi got, but it's more so a fact of how much time does this take to get on a piece of contract, to get all parties involved. And also we have to remember with Major League Soccer, once Inter Miami and Messi sign those papers, then they have to send the contract to the Major League Soccer offices for final approval. So they can read that through, get it stamped, and Inter Miami can announce it. So it's a little bit more of a complicated process than maybe you would see in Europe, but it is coming. Now, in terms of how much Inter Miami has grown, you see it in the impact of jerseys. I've just been in many corners of this world now seeing the Inter Miami pink, something we barely saw in Miami, actual 305 Miami, before Messi signing. Now you would see it closer to the stadium in Fort Lauderdale, but you would rarely see it outside that neighborhood, and now you see it everywhere. Inter Miami is a recognizable brand, and I don't think that's what they could have been considered before Messi signed. And you want to talk about what he's done on the field and how that's led to growth, obviously being at the Club World Cup, invited, merited, or not. I'll leave that controversy for someone else. But the fact that they were on such a global stage allowed them to grow even further. So there's no question about how much they've grown on and off the field in terms of revenue, sponsorships. Every brand wants to be connected to Inter Miami and get close to Messi's name.
I'll go back to what Shaka mentioned about the broadcasting. I think that's probably the most important thing here. And the simple fact that Apple's still in this because of Messi should give Major League Soccer fans hope of where Apple wants to take this and how much bigger it can get if they do want to make it bigger. And I'm sure Messi wants to make it bigger because it's better for his legacy, it's better for his wallet, it's better for a plethora of reasons. You're in a vacuum. And unless you're a Major League Soccer fan, you don't know it exists. You have to go directly to this app and then another part of this app to get to exactly what you want to watch. There's no external programming. If it wasn't for Messi, nobody would be talking about Major League Soccer outside of that bubble. Today, PTI, the longest running sports show in North America, Michael Wilbon, Tony Kornheiser, opened up their A block. They're talking about the extension of Messi and Inter Miami. And they jokingly said, they were talking about him as a competitor, they were talking about the money, everything that's involved, how it's a no-brainer. And when asked why would Messi still do this, they mentioned themselves as, well, we just had an extension because we like it, because it's fun. As long as it's something Messi wants to do and he sees that it can be productive and he wants to be around, he will continue to do so. And as long as he is involved in Major League Soccer, they are better for it.
Whatever Messi wants, Messi gets. Not only Jorge Mas, as Lizzie mentioned, but I'm sure Don Garber is definitely on that same wavelength. Lizzie, thank you so much for giving us the details. We will look for the definitive now Lionel Messi contract extension, and I'm sure we will have you back on here, Futbol Americas.
Always an honor.
Lizzie Veterano, let's keep it here for MLS You know, it's not always all about Lionel Messi, and that's because Heung-min Son is now in MLS, Herc.
I mean, I guess the sun will come out no, today! It'll come out today, not tomorrow. Very early on. He's got a 1v1 opportunity. He's going to bury it from there.
Yeah, facing Real Salt Lake here. On to the 16th minute. Son again. Shaq, and he said from here, why not?
Keeper.
This is a really nice finish. He gives Son this kind of room, long way out.
He bends that.
What he does well is, in hitting this, is bouncing a couple of yards in front of the keeper, never slowing down. That's a finish of experience.
Yeah, I mean, Real Salt Lake, LAFC trying to not slow this one down, but
Oh boy.
penalty for Real Salt Lake. Hurt.
Yeah, Ryan Hollings said incidental contact. He doesn't know too much about it. He's trying to recuperate there, just lunges out, and
Saying
you
he got
can't do
into
that.
his Hollings head.
Oh, wow.
Come on, it was right there.
Yeah.
Low-hanging fruit.
Same shot.
56-minute run, Cruz.
Oh, that stutter step. I don't know why you do that, Shaq. Why did
The keeper gave up. The keeper gave up, and all of a sudden the ball just come right back to him.
Hey, it's a touch of luck. Real Salt Lake was looking for that, though. Xavier Gosso with the acrobatic finish, Shaq.
This is some finish here, by the way. Now, if I'm a defender, I'm asking my defender, just put your head in there somewhere. It will get called off. But, no, put your...
I live off of this face, Shaq.
Get
I live off
close.
of this
Oh,
face.
no, you're not good looking.
Your nose might get in the way, but that's all right. Denny Bouanga sliced at the sun for his hat trick.
Yeah, so Denny Bouanga is going to go into Carlos Vela night, already surpassing Carlos Vela.
Yeah.
Already even with Carlos Vela, I should say, with a chance to surpass him. This is, I mean, Denny Bouanga to song. Oh, here's one of Denny Bouanga. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's here. But
That's
hey,
the one.
I know you wanted to get to it because you literally called it the other night that this was a possibility.
Yes, this is in Salt Lake, but they're going to come to LA this weekend, and he's going to have the possibility of breaking Carlos Vela's goal-scoring record on Carlos Vela night.
Oh, boy.
4-1 for LAFC. They weren't done yet. 6 more minutes there of added time.
Oh, no.
Latunji sent off for violent conduct, Shaq.
Why?
A headbutt.
Oh, boy. That's just frustration, and you pay a very heavy price when you act on that frustration.
I mean, they ask him, he can just say, hey, Dani Carvajal did it a few hours before, why not me? LAFC winning this one 4-1, and for now, climbing up the spots there in 4th place with 47 points, just 5 behind number 3, Vancouver Whitecaps, who we also know added a very special name in the last few months with Thomas Müller, who also had a hat trick this weekend. They're both in phenomenal form at their 33 and 36 years of age, and their minutes still accumulating. I mean, Son got there much quicker than Thomas Müller did, and their conversion percentage also says a lot. But more than anything, it's the impact of both of these players on their respective sides and what they mean with their locker room. So let's get into the impact and what we've seen from them. I mean, just right off the bat here, Shaq, to have players of this caliber, of this experience come and maybe spend their last few years here, or maybe just come at their peak. I wouldn't say Heung-min Son is on his way out yet.
Well, he was on his way out in terms of Premier League quality,
Right.
which is what prompted the move. But you cannot question his performances for LAFC so far since his arrival, and similarly with Thomas Müller. I guess on the one hand, you have to start looking at these two players and what it means in terms of marketability for their respective squads. Heung-min Son and his standing within the Asian market in terms of broadcast rights, the Asian community in terms of the West Coast. The stars don't come much bigger than Heung-min Son. Certainly, soccer stars don't come much bigger. Still a player of incredible quality. And while, yes, he was not still there at Premier League level, he's still an impactful player. He's still an incredible presence. Similarly with Thomas Müller, and you start to look at his kind of standing and what it means to Vancouver in his signing. Again, that experience, a player who's seen it and won it all across the board. Maybe, I guess, if we're looking at the financials of it, in terms of marketing doesn't have the impact that Son does with the Asian community. Europe is a fairly flooded market, kind of given the standing of the game there. But I think what his signing does is it announces Vancouver in a way that I don't think they've done before. LAFC obviously had their major stars, and Heung-min Son has added to that legacy. I'm not sure that Vancouver has had this caliber of player or made this announcement that, yeah, we want to be taken seriously. And Thomas Muller has similarly stepped up and provided the ability to showcase these talents, and Vancouver as a football club. So I feel there is just so much upside to both these players for both these clubs.
Certainly from Mueller's Vancouver perspective, Thomas Mueller is the biggest star they've had since Steve Nash. Steve Nash doesn't play the game.
Yeah.
Literally.
This is a
he
team.
really wanted to play the game.
He really did. This is a team that, for the longest time, they've been trying to sell. Has been an afterthought in the MLS markets. Not a big market in terms of media. Have never really had teams of worth, with all due respect to the Vancouver teams of the past that have made some runs or have done some good things. They've never had the expectations or the weight or the responsibility. They do now. They're coming off a Concacaf Champions Cup in which they were humiliated. They're bringing in a player that's just as much a culture type of player as he is a difference maker, and he's proven it on the field. He's not going to be the media darling in terms of attention, but he will be the media darling in terms of this is who you want talking to the cameras in the biggest of moments. So it's a win-win there. He seems to have taken very well to the city of Vancouver. How could you not? The Pacific Northwest is beautiful. And Vancouver's taken well to him. And they're winning on the field. And players, good players, young and of experience, can learn from Thomas Mueller. A Sebastian Berhalter is going to be better for being around a Thomas Mueller. A Tristan Blackman is going to be better for being around a player like Thomas Mueller. And with Sonny, what can I say? Shaq's absolutely right. I mean, when you think about cities with South Korean heritage in the States, Los Angeles is the second most populated city with South Koreans in the world. They're going to flock and see him play against any team when LAFC is hosting. We saw South Korea play against the United States in New York or New Jersey, and what happened? It was all South Korean fans. They're all there to see Sonny. He's a difference maker, and I'll push back on what Shaq is saying. Shaq is saying he's not Premier League quality. I think what Shaq means is he's not of the Premier League elite. This is a player that could still command playing time in a lot of different places in the Premier League.
Very true.
When you think about the premier attackers in the Premier League, the ones who have been productive over the years, goal contributions, there's only two players that have contributed more in goals, assists and goals in the Premier League since Sonny's been there than him. Those two players, Harry Kane, his ex-teammate, and Mohamed Salah. That's how good of a player he was. He's the most talented Asian player that I've ever seen. He'll go down probably as the best Asian player that we've ever seen.
How they change the culture of the dressing room. I think probably the bigger impact is how they have impact, how they change, how they influence younger players with it on an individual level. I played with Teddy Sheringham at West Ham after his Manchester United days. Teddy was actually a similar age to Thomas Muller, looking at 38 and going on, still going to the gym every single day, still being mindful of what you eat, still preparing as though he were 25 and 26 years old, pulling on the shirt for Spurs and Manchester United. Now, I think that gets lost with a lot of players and I mean this, I do not mean this disrespectfully, but sometimes you come to smaller leagues where there isn't the kind of pressure on you every single day, not just in terms of pressure of performance, but in terms of pressure of competition. And because you're talented enough, you take that position for granted. What you see from guys like Thomas Muller, guys like Heung-min Son, who've done it for as long as they have taken nothing for granted, not a single day in their lives. And again, we are talking about, certainly in the case of Thomas Muller, a player who's won every single thing there is to win. And given my own experience with a similar player in Teddy Sheringham, trust me, he is doing it as though it meant every single thing that it did pre a World Cup final. And that for me, if as a player, if as an individual, you can see learn from that and take it on board, you'll be better for it.
Shaq and I have played in Major League Soccer, and we've covered the league long enough and spoken to players to see that sometimes you get players who are of a certain category, and now they're in Major League Soccer, and they don't come with the humility necessary to pass on what they know or to be successful within this league. And oftentimes, that is grading for players. That is draining for the younger player. The one thing I see with these two players is the humility. The humility of understanding that they are ambassadors. And LAFC, I give a lot of credit to because they've been very good in the way they go and get players to establish culture. The Chiellinis, the Gareth Bells, players that have been there, done that, the Carlos Velas. And Carlos Velas is a misunderstood animal, but one thing you always hear from his teammates is how great of a teammate he is, how supportive he is. So they do a good job of establishing a culture. These players are building blocks, and not just today. Those are the blocks that are going to be or continue to be built for tomorrow, as Chiellini was with LAFC and continued working with them after he retired.
Yeah, I had the opportunity in the few months that I covered MLS. I went to LAFC several times, and it was when Giorgio Chiellini had just arrived, and just how positively they spoke about him, how he enjoyed training, how he took the time to really talk to his teammates too. So I'm glad you mentioned him because he's the one who just comes to mind when we talk about building a culture in a certain club, especially like LAFC. Speaking of building a culture, we know that that's already set with our ESPN FC team, available daily on ESPN+. Someone else who has heard the word culture a lot lately surrounding the national team has been Christian Pulisic. We changed that age to 27 because it is his birthday, so a very happy birthday to him. Probably not the best gift, though, was Doug McIntyre's article dropping today detailing, we know, a tumultuous summer for him and Mauricio Pochettino with new details. Some of those details, obviously, we talked about it pretty much all summer because we heard Mauricio Pochettino on the podcast, Christian Pulisic on the podcast, but the new details being, Shaq, that U.S. Soccer actually an official informed that U.S. Soccer official that Pulisic wanted to skip the U.S. men's national team Gold Cup. And this is all we know, but apparently it was his agent now who communicated it to the U.S. men's national team. And it wasn't a call that came, as Doug McIntyre says, a call that came from Pulisic's agent and was delivered through an intermediary. What is your initial reaction when you heard that?
My initial reaction was one of shock, quite simply. I simply couldn't believe that Pulisic asked his agent to make that call, and I find it ridiculous. There's no, and that's putting it probably as nice as I possibly could. I find this absolutely ridiculous. Let me put it this way: if Pochettino had his assistant call Pulisic to tell him he was in the squad or not in the squad or whatever it was, I would be highly critical of Pochettino in doing that. So to turn it around, to turn that table around 180 degrees, and Christian Pulisic have his agent reach out to Pochettino. Similarly, I find that, I find it hard to believe. I'll be honest, I never thought that this is a discussion we'd be having. I never thought that this is something that anybody would do. When you're talking about a player of Christian Pulisic's caliber and standing within U.S. soccer, I just didn't think it was a done thing. I didn't think anybody was brazen enough to do that, or kind of brazen is a kind word. I don't want to say unprofessional.
Naive?
Oh, I'm thinking of another word, but I don't know if you're thinking of it.
We can't let him get away with naive. Not who he is.
Let me ask you a question. You have an agent?
Yeah?
You have an agent right now?
Right now, no.
No.
Right now.
I don't have an agent because we can speak for ourselves.
Yeah, but as a player, I had an agent.
I didn't have an agent towards the end of my career because I could speak for my, but I could totally see why some players, especially Christian Pulisic, don't feel comfortable, especially him. Don't feel. He reminds me so much of Landon Donovan. A lot of what Landon Donovan had to say to coaches, sometimes it was him, oftentimes it was his agent, Richard Motzkins. I can definitely see his agent picking up the phone and speaking for Christian Pulisic to be a buffer, to get a conversation going. This is something I can absolutely see. Agents are supposed to be the bad guys. That's why they're hired.
So then that's an admission that asking to be omitted was a bad guy job. But it's because we sat in this studio. I'll speak for myself. I sat in this studio and defended Christian Pulisic's right to not be, mic fallen, to not be involved in
No mic drop yet.
Yeah, no, not just yet. To not be involved in the Gold Cup because of the rigors of his domestic season, and he just felt, and I use myself as an example. I started feeling tired, started feeling drained, and that quickly followed. I was about to go away on international duty. That quickly, I broke my leg, and I sat here and defended Christian Pulisic and his right to ask to be left out. So now to have someone make that call, it's an admission that it's a bad guy's job. And to your point about Christian Pulisic not being able to express himself, we're not asking him, I want to say we're not asking him to come on air and say that, even though he went on a podcast to defend that position.
Of his docuseries.
Many people who aren't comfortable speaking in front of camera or speaking in front of people, it's a one-on-one phone call with your coach.
Shaq, he's the captain too.
I don't know. He's not the captain.
Well, I mean, no.
Captain America.
But whichever way, it's a
Captain America.
one-on-one phone call with your coach. You cannot be afraid to have that conversation.
I think he is. I think he is.
I'm
so
not
this is why you.
I'm not giving him that.
No, it's not about giving it to him. But when we sit here and asked if we're surprised this happened, I am not surprised this happened at all. Are you surprised this happened?
Yeah.
I cannot be surprised this happened because of who he is as a person. He's an introvert, of what he's shown us, his demeanor, of the non-communication with the coaching staff to the players. So now we're supposed to expect that there's open communication and there was a mishap only from Christian Pulisic? Listen, does it look bad? Absolutely. The same way that it looks bad that Roger Goodell speaks for the owners in the NFL. Right. He's the bad guy. He's the shield. That's what the agent's going to do. He's going to be the bad guy. He's going to be the shield. I really hope this was a buffer to get a conversation, to get dialogue going. I really hope that's what it was. I would be surprised if that was the intention. I have my doubts, but I hope it is. But I'm even more surprised by the little to no dialogue there is from the coaching staff to the players. So this is of no surprise to me whatsoever. It's a surprise that somebody in U.S. soccer felt the need to share it with the reporter. That's the surprise to me. Because there are things they want to get out. There are things that are said to Doug McIntyre, who is an absolutely awesome reporter, very good at his job, and his sources wanted to get this out. So there is somebody in the U.S. Soccer Federation that wants to finger pointed back at Christian Pulisic. That, to me, is a bigger surprise.
What are you trying to say with that?
Well, things don't get out unless you want them to get out.
Why do they want them to get out? To point the finger at Christian Pulisic. Why?
Well, there's a lot of heat right now on U.S. soccer. There's a lot of heat right now on Mauricio Pochettino. Right. And the next finger pointing will be at Matt Crocker. The next finger pointing will be Cindy Parlow Cohen for the shared failures of this U.S. men's national team that we've seen. That's why.
I think I described it the same way during the summer the first time we talked about this, but the Spider-Man meme just comes to mind where they're all just pointing at each other, and everybody has fault in this situation.
Yes.
It's a broken telephone. Who broke it first? Who broke it first? It doesn't matter. The communication just completely fell apart. But Shaq, I want to go back to what Herc said, because my mind kind of goes to that. This was a conversation like, hey, just letting you know, he's not going to play Gold Cup. He's going to schedule a call with you in the next few weeks. Just give him a chance.
We hope it's a buffer. Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping too, because we don't want to, obviously we never want to assume the worst in everybody, especially someone of the category of Christian Pulisic, especially with the 2026 World Cup coming up. But obviously we don't know. If we're going to assume something, maybe that's what it is, Shaq. This is the starting point. Hey, call me in a couple of weeks. Pochettino kind of gets his mind together. Christian Pulisic gets his mind together, and they have a conversation. I mean, they just saw each other very recently.
Yeah, but now, if a one-on-one conversation was had at some point before the Gold Cup, fair enough.
Right.
I'm totally fine with that. With the agent calling and saying, hey, this is what Christian has decided. He'll let you know himself. I'm totally fine with that.
I believe the conversation was had between Pochettino and Christian Pulisic, where Christian Pulisic then expressed, hey, I want to play the 2 friendlies and not the rest.
Which was ridiculous to start with.
Correct. But that's what Pochettino took. So there was a conversation between the two.
And then the podcast ensued.
But then to Herc's point, and then what you said, Cristina, about this is a broken record, so to speak, or whatever it may be. Telephone. The question then becomes, who fixes it?
Yeah.
And nobody has
Who's
seen...
responsible to fix it?
Right. Nobody has shown any responsibility in stepping up to do that.
But that's what I'm getting at. We just heard Mauricio Pochettino last camp literally start picking fights or pettiness with the press and saying, hey guys, criticize me, don't criticize the players. And now this comes out where somebody's obviously pointing the finger back at the player.
Right.
So it's very interesting to me. It's become a very toxic setting where it's us versus them, the players versus the staff, and you can bulk in the coaching
Not just
staff.
the players versus the staff, the big name players.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
Which is worse.
Yep.
Which is worse. Because if you still had the backing of your biggest players, it wouldn't be an issue.
Right. Let's talk about another notable player on this U.S. men's national team side, because our former colleague Doug McIntyre also talked about Weston McKennie and saying, quote, key veteran Weston McKennie arrived at the Copa America last summer camp noticeably unfit, according to multiple sources. I know we've talked about Weston a lot and maybe the inconsistencies surrounding his participation with his respective club at the moment with Juventus. What's your immediate reaction with this? Because Berhalter still started him for the group stage of this Copa America.
Well, he started him in 5 games.
Yeah.
He started him in the game versus Colombia.
Yep.
He started him in the game versus Brazil, the game in Colombia, which they were trashed in, the game against Brazil, which they tied in, and the 3 Copa America games they played in. The win, 78 minutes played against Bolivia, and then 2 90-minute performances versus Panama, where they went a man down because Timothy Weah's red card, and then Uruguay. And my immediate response was, let me go back. How did he play? And I'm thinking, well, it wasn't that he played terrible. He didn't play great. Nobody played great. Nobody in that summer series played great. If I had to pick a name of who was a winner in that summer series, it'd probably be the people or the players who weren't involved. There was some very poor performances in the Colombia game, some good performances in Brazil, and then Copa America was a fiasco. And I look at Weston McKennie, and I want to choose my words wisely.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm not.
I like how you teed that up.
I'm not going to fat shame him. Okay? Because that's been the issue with Weston McKennie is the chatter that we've seen in Italy, the chatter we've seen online. The rhetoric is he's not fit. Some people say that's his complexion. All I know is there seems to be a pattern of he shows up in a setting, preseason in Italy, and the news that comes out is they're unhappy with him, they want to sell him, he's not going to be part of the team, and he always wins out. It seems Greg Berhalter gave him the benefit of the doubt, and it didn't pay off in the same way it didn't pay off for anybody who participated in that Copa America. There were 2 bright spots, 2 moments, and it was Christian Pulisic in the earlier game versus Bolivia, and it was Folarin Balogun against Panama, the worthy of a goal that he scores. But throughout that, this rhetoric of he's unfit, it's something he's carried with him since he's been in Italy, that his teammates were upset with that. That, to me, is the indicator that something was wrong. I've said it before, this U.S. men's national team, with Pochettino, with Greg Berhalter, with Dave Sarachan, it was a Lord of the Flies environment. There are probably some viewers who are listening or watching who are young and have never read the book. The Lord of the Flies is about these kids who got stranded on an island,
Buckle up.
deserted island.
Who haven't read it.
And they're kids, no adults, and they had to govern themselves. And all hell breaks loose. Why? Because it's kids running with kids, governing themselves. They've never had veteran leadership, proper veteran leadership. I came up through the ranks. You had a Casey Keller, you had a Carlos Bocanegra, you had a Tim Howard, you had guys like Clint Dempsey, you had Michael Bradley, you had Steve Cherundolo, you had Marcus Hanneman, who played so many serviceable years in the Premier League, go on and on. These guys didn't have that. They threw out the baby with the bathwater after they didn't qualify in the 2018 World Cup. And they said, you kids who have done nothing to deserve this, we're going to make you guys the base and we're going to gift you call-ups. So now we are seeing the bad side of that, of these kids not governing each other, and they were very green, and the most green of all in that time was probably Greg Berhalter, who didn't have the experience to deal with such a team, even though he did good things with them. This is more of that. And maybe there were a few players who were not of that generation, who were older in that Copa America, who said, hey, this is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Because they're not used to this type of discipline. That's what it tells me.
Quick thought, Shaka?
Quick thought is, to me, Weston McKennie's always looked unfit. This is not a arrive in Italy thing for me. He always has. But he's always turning in his incredible performances.
Yeah.
So once you're performing like that, then you dismiss everything else. The issue then becomes, and this is where Herc is absolutely right, if your teammates are seeing you in training every single day, know how good you are when you're at your best, even though, in my opinion, he looks a little bit unfit. If your teammates are questioning your performances in training, then that for me is a big red flag. Now, you can look at the performances in the Gold Cup or anywhere else for that matter, and you can hide behind a poorly performing team, and you can be a part of that total, that collective. But your teammates are seeing you every single day and know whether you're good, bad, or indifferent on an individual basis every single day. If they're questioning that, I don't see how you make much of an argument otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone as talented as Weston McKennie, that there's no question about the talent that someone like his has. You don't just by luck land on such an important team as he is right now. You don't just get the benefit of the doubt from someone like Greg Berhalter at a stage that's so important, like it was the Copa America, but we won't dive more into what that performance was for the U.S. men's national team. We'll move on to invite you to visit ESPN FC's YouTube page to watch a series called Discover a Club, brought to you by the Bundesliga, and we start with Frankfurt.
What's your funniest Eintracht Frankfurt story?
My favorite stories are not for kids. I'm Timothy Chandler, 35 years old, and I work here as a mom for everything.
Timothy Chandler, just off the bench.
The best thing of here, when the players come, we try really to make them the best time in Frankfurt or best time as a football player. And this keep them growing, give them confidence, and they just keep on playing, and then they try to do the next step. And this is the most important thing in Frankfurt. When you put on the jersey with the Eagle, you go out, just give 100%. You don't need to score 5 goals. Also, you can lose, but just fight for the Eagle.
As the Frankfurt legend came onto the field, it was so special to see how the fans welcomed his entrance. The love and goodwill for him within the stadium was beautiful, and that moment was the definition of a club that feels like a family.
Say everybody hello with respect, respect everybody's what they say from different countries, from where they come, and this is the most important, I think, in a family, the respect.
Very much looking forward to that full episode, but for now we will welcome in Lutz Pfannenstiel. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us here on Futbol Americas. It's great to have you in the house to talk about what we just saw with Timothy Chandler. We know he's basically a lifer here at Frankfurt at his 35 years old. What is his biggest contribution to the team?
Well, officially, I would say he's still a player, but I think it's much more deeper than that. I think he's the connection between the coaching staff and the players, new players coming in to get them integrated. So I think he's a big guy in the changing room, a lot of power, but he doesn't use the power in a negative way. He's a very positive guy. And I think especially looking after the younger guys, trying to give people confidence. And when he's asked to play, he still comes on. So I think a jack of all trades, but most important, a Frankfurt legend, an original who is there since so many years. And to really define his role in one sentence is very difficult, but he definitely have a big impact on lots of people. And for example, one of the closest friends of him is the kid man that kind of sums it up. Shaka will know that as well. that you having this kind of connection within the clubs, not only players, not only the big guys, but having the connection to everybody within the club makes you special.
Yeah, absolutely. Herc, notice your pool table too there, Lutz. So speaking of invitations to play, we know Timothy Chandler is always putting his hand up, but Herc is ready to challenge you there.
Oh, boy.
We'll get it going. We'll get it going. Timothy Chandler was a teammate of mine in the U.S. men's national team. Always a consummate professional, a guy that every time he put on the jersey gave it his all. And it's good to see him still at 35 years of age. Because we were watching this video, and I'm asking myself, is he coaching? Is he part of the staff? And that's really what it looks like. It looks like he's player coach. So it's good to see him passing on to the next generation. Yeah, more than a player, definitely. And the fans also see that, Lutz. But we're going to stick to some more Bundesliga news because we definitely have our eye on some movements here for Borussia Mönchengladbach. We talked about this the other night, and the list was much, much shorter. But now confirmed by the club themselves that Eugen Polanski, the interim coach, is in the running to succeed Gerardo Seoane. The club have confirmed this of recent. We know this is somebody who knows the team to the core. He's a young coach.
And he went back to Mönchengladbach, where he was born, where he grew up, where he played in the academy, and then really went through the ranks there. And they brought him back again as a Borussia Mönchengladbach original player. I think he knows the club very well. The list, you said, the list gets longer. I think that's always a bad sign, or in this case, a good sign for Eugen Polanski. I think he fits perfect. He knows the club. He knows exactly the politics within the club. Mönchengladbach is not an easy club, especially at the moment, looking at the table, looking at the last 2-3 years, where they were not as successful as the expectations are. And him being a really pure leader. He was a great captain in Hoffenheim. He was a captain in Mainz in the Bundesliga for many years. That's the way he coaches. You know, he's very demanding. He's very clear when it comes to the playing philosophy, when it comes to the idea. And what I heard from my contacts there, that they're having 3 very difficult games coming up. They will not make a quick decision on any of the guys he just showed in their table. So I think they will really stick with Eugen Polanski for a few games. And I personally think if the performances are good, that he has a good chance to become the permanent head coach. Because before Seoane actually signed 2 years ago, Eugen Polanski was already kind of the crown prince behind, and there was always rumors that he could get the job by then. Now, 2 years older, having more experience now with Gladbach too, I think it's right now the perfect time for Eugen Polanski to take that opportunity, take that chance, and stay actually head coach till the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Borussia's board member Roland Wirtz said Eugen is a young, energetic coach who has waited a long time for this opportunity and has earned it through his outstanding work with the U23s. He took over U17s there in 2021, so it's pretty evident as to why he's now receiving this opportunity. But of course, we focus in on 2 players in particular here, Shaq, with Gio Reyna, with Joe Scally. I mean, speaking of working with young players, this looks like it's good news for them, but what do you think?
Well, it's good news if Polanski is able to turn things around. And that's a big ask for a Mönchengladbach team that started very poorly. And while you understand you wanting to appoint an internal candidate, given his work with under-17s and the under-23s, you just wonder if this job doesn't call for somebody more experienced. That being said, you look at Mönchengladbach's next fixtures to come. Away to Leverkusen, home to Frankfurt, home to Freiburg, away to Union Berlin, away to Bayern Munich. That's not an easy start for anybody. In a team that's got 1 point so far this season, in a team that lost their last game, lost 4-0 at home. That is almost a thankless task for a new manager. So if you're looking in from the outside and you have your eye on this job, you're kind of thinking, go the interim for a little bit. Give me a call next month, and let's have those conversations, because this is as tough a run as any struggling team can ask.
I mean, this kind of sounds like Xabi Alonso taking over in Leverkusen, and we know the season he ended up having. Granted, it's there's a little bit of a different situation, but Herc, what do you think?
I don't like when a team is losing in a situation where there is a relegation possibility. and you're a young player, because those young players go out the window. These coaches who come in, they want to right the ship with players of experience. They just want to stay afloat. And oftentimes, players like a Gio Reyna may go by the wayside with those type of coaches. Why? Because he's not a player that, when you see the tape, looks like it's max effort. When you see the tape, looks like it's defending, it's running for the team. But when you see the tape, as last week when they lost by 4 goals, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but Gladbach still hasn't scored a goal this season, he looked like the closest player to scoring a goal or to putting a player in a position to score a goal. He looked very goal dangerous every time he had the ball, but he plays at a different velocity. One velocity or one position that I think we see very little of now in world football that is going away. It is much more vertical. It is much more with speed, with transitions. Gio Reyna is much more of that 10, of that I play in a different type of gear. And oftentimes those types of players in these types of teams that could be in trouble get pushed aside. So that's my worry for him.
Lutz, should Giovanni Reyna, should Joe Scally be worried about the instability of Mönchengladbach, or how do you think now Polanski can potentially help them?
Yeah, I mean, Polanski worked a lot with Joe Scally before. You know, he was also a transition coach trying to get the youth players, the under 23 players, into the first team training. So he always was very impressed with Scally's physicality, with the way he played. So I think he will get his opportunities. Eugen really likes him. I think with Gio Reyna, a different story. You know, I mean, he haven't played that much in recent years. He had injuries. I think for him, it's really to get minutes. But as we just heard, as a number 10, as a playmaker, where your big strength is definitely with the ball, playing at a team like Mönchengladbach, which struggles at the moment, where even the last 2 years, he was more about survival than looking at the European places, which is always their kind of expectations. It's not an easy playground, I think, for Gio Reyna. He needs to stay fit. I think he will be given opportunities because Eugen Polanski likes that kind of players. But I definitely see huge possibilities for Scally to get more minutes and really have a good impact in Mönchengladbach.
Well, the first taste will come up this weekend. But for now, Lutz, we say thank you so much for hanging out with us here a little bit on Futbol Americas.
Thank you.
Want to remind you what's coming up this weekend. Match day 4 for the Bundesliga. All of matches available on ESPN+. And we will, of course, look at what the possibilities now for Mönchengladbach it can be this upcoming weekend. But, of course, a full slate for you. As always, Leverkusen, as Shaq mentioned, that first rival here for the new era for Gladbach. All right, let's take it to a more individual sense here. Speaking of the Concacaf Men's Player of the Year, the shortlist includes Edson Alvarez, Herc's boy Jonathan David, no spoilers there, Raúl Jiménez, Ángel Sepúlveda, Malik Tillman, and Manfred Ugalde as well. A very interesting list. Ángel Sepúlveda, who really had just a breakout summer for Mexico as well. But to our short list, we're going to make it even shorter here. Shaq, out of these players, who are you choosing?
Jonathan David. I think he's had the best season, certainly with Lille, and has started well.
Select 6 here. There's no one clear player that's done well both at club and country that has both sides. Take Edson Alvarez, who won the Nations League and won the Concacaf Gold Cup, being named the best player at the Gold Cup, lifting both trophies as a captain. Had an abysmal season at West Ham, probably his worst season in top-flight football in his career. You look at a player like Malik Tillman, who had a very good showing for PSV, very good, gets a big transfer for himself to Leverkusen, just started breaking out with the U.S. men's national team.
Came back from that injury as well.
Well, yeah, but he's been around with the U.S. men's national team, just started breaking out, and it wasn't like you could say it was an insane Gold Cup for him either. You look at a player like Ángel Sepúlveda, who Concacaf Champions Cup lifted the title, was a tournament's top scorer, led his team in goals in Liga MX. They've made multiple finals. They've played for every trophy they can. When he plays with the national team, he's come on and scored, but he's a two-bit player, with all respect, on the Mexican national team. My sentimental pick would be Raúl because of how important he is to Mexico and what he's done for Mexico, but he was on the bench towards the second half of the season with Fulham. The easy choice for me is also Jonathan David. It's Jonathan David who became the all-time leading goal scorer in Canada's history this past year, who became the all-time leading goal scorer in Lille's history this past season, who ended up scoring 9 goals in the Champions League, 2 of them in the in the qualification stage, and 7, a record 7 by a Concacaf player in the Champions League group and knockouts, scoring against the likes of Real Madrid, Atletico, Juventus is now team, Liverpool, Fenerbahce, Feyenoord, the list goes on. He was that man.